Welcome once again to the mobile studio. And when I say mobile, I mean it. I'm recording this on my phone, and we are now looking at something new for me, for this channel. iPad. The DaVinci Resolve on the iPad. I wanted to take a look at it because I've mentioned it a time or two, and there are some significant limitations that you should be aware of if you're considering using it as your mobile editing system. The first significant difference is that it doesn't have every page by default. As you can see here in my version, I have the media page, the cut page, the edit page, the color page, and the deliver page. Missing is Fairlight and Fusion because I don't use them on here, and I'll explain why in a moment. By default, you only get the cut page and the color page, and that's because these two pages are where Blackmagic is putting the lion's share of their effort to make it work really well on the iPad, and it does. The other pages are there, and they are putting some effort into them already, but they don't support them yet. So the only way to get them is to use keyboard shortcuts, and I will include a link to where I learned how to do that, so that you can learn how to do that from the person I did, instead of me redoing that work. I tend to use the cut page, because I tend to use the cut page on the desktop, and it works pretty much as well, but there's one significant feature missing, and that is the mixer. There is no mixer on the edit page, and there's no mixer on the Fairlight page, which erases all of the use of the Fairlight page except for maybe fine editing of audio, so I tend not to use that. However, on the cut page, you will see that there is a mixer. And that's a relatively new addition, so Blackmagic is working on that, and we might get an enhanced mixer functionality soon, later. Also missing in the audio category is the voiceover recording. There's just no way to do it that I've been able to find. So if you're really dead set on using an iPad as your main editor, and you need to record voiceover, we're back to using a phone or some other recording device stuck in your pocket, and then transferring the recording from your phone to your editor and syncing it up there. It's not hard to do, but it is a little strange that these super powerful devices don't have the ability to record voiceover. The second major thing with Resolve on the iPad is the operating system and the file system. So if you're used to working on a computer, you're used to a file system that has folders and whatnot, and that doesn't exist the same way on the iPad. It has a much more secure file structure that's app-based. If you're an iPad user, you're already used to that. So here in Resolve, if I'm on the cut page and I hit the import button here, it shows me the same list of things that I would see in my files and what is on my iPad. Now, what's on your iPad isn't what's on your iPad. It's what you put in the folder called On My iPad. So it's not all there. So I ended up having to go to Google Drive to move things around and get them into On My iPad. There's another feature for importing things that you'll want to know, though, and that is if you press and hold the import button, it gives you other options. So we can import from photos, for example, and then it will come up with the things that are in your photo album. And for example, if you're using AirDrop to move things back and forth, it's easier to find in your photo album than it is to find on my iPad. Took me a little bit to get used to that, but once I did, it, things opened up. Now you can add the deliver page back in. Of course, in the cut page, there is a deliver button up at the top, and that gives you a kind of a truncated set of options for exporting. On the deliver page, of course, you have all of the options. It looks a little bit different. Like instead of having a list across the top, you've got a drop-down list that you can choose from. And when you add something to the render queue, instead of putting it in a list on the side, it comes up with a pop-up menu like this. And then it's the same functionality, it's just rearranged to work on the iPad. And that's one of the things that, as I was mentioning earlier, they are putting effort into these pages that don't quite work on the iPad right out of the box, and they are making them work on the iPad. They're not supported yet, but they probably will be. And if you use a keyboard, or there's a couple of other tricks to enable the pages that don't come enabled by default, you're good to go. So you really can do a lot on the iPad, and particularly because this 11-inch iPad Pro is really portable. And this is the M1. It's not the newest or fanciest or most expensive, and it works just fine for simple videos. Now, that is one of the things I want to highlight here. I would not want to do a complex project on this device. I could probably get used to it. If I had no other choice, obviously I would. It's better than a phone in terms of real estate to work on. But it is not easy to do large, complex projects on because it's difficult to navigate. For me, difficult to navigate compared to something with a keyboard, a mouse, and a 29-inch widescreen. But it has value, and particularly if you already have an iPad, especially if it's an M1 series, or one of the last, I think it'll still run, as long as you can get iOS or iPad, I can't remember, I'll have to put it up. As long as you can get a certain version of iPadOS on your device, it'll run on it. And if you have an M series, it'll certainly run on it. And as I said, this is an M1 and it runs just fine. Worth looking into. I don't know that I would suggest going out and getting an iPad just for editing in Resolve unless you really need the portability. But it's pretty handy. And if you already have one, it's kind of a no-brainer because like with the desktop, you get a free version that you can use for free and a paid version, which is less expensive, of course. I think it's $95 US at the moment. But it also doesn't have all the same features. It has some of the same features, like it does voice isolation, some of the AI tools. It does not do voice convert, which we looked at. And because of the lack of audio features, I'm really not sure that you can call this a pro-level thing yet. At least not for the kind of work that I do. But, as I said, worth a look. Thanks for coming along. Hope you found that helpful, and catch you next time.